and ghouls, and that means it's time for the annual One-Hit Wonderland Spooktacular Edition. Ooh, a proud tradition that dates all the way back to last year. And I'm probably not going to do another one, but you know, woo, Halloween! Guess I should costume again. Let's see what we got in the prop box here. Okay, I'm a Chinese pirate carpenter. Whatever, I don't even need a costume. You know what? What's scarier than a strange, faceless man looming and watching you from the shadows? And speaking of, yesterday we are talking about Rockwell, a man who took his one hit about his creeping paranoia almost all the way up the charts in 1984. Part of a brief but glorious moment when mainstream pop wasn't afraid to get a little ghoulish. And it's surprisingly topical in 2013, weirdly enough. And a big part of the reason why that subsection of pop existed was the success of Thriller. Something Somebody's Watching Me couldn't exist without in more ways than one. Now, I have talked about Rockwell before when a couple of his relatives were briefly popular a couple of years ago.
I'm sexy and I know it.
Thank God that's over. Now, I don't remember saying many nice things about Rockwell. Something about how he was a talentless wannabe exploiting the resources and connections he got from obvious nepotism. But I am often surprised at how different artists end up looking when you explore more than a single song. So, why was Rockwell not able to leverage his influential family name beyond a single hit song? And for that matter, if you didn't want people to be watching you, why are you wearing that ridiculous jerry curl? Well, come with me as we explore the primal fear of never really being alone. And be sure to look over your shoulder because you never know who might be lurking behind you. Rockwell's only hit begins, "I'm just an average man with an average life." But that isn't remotely true. Now, like I said, his real name is Kennedy Gordy, and he is the son of Berry Gordy Jr., founder of Motown Records and one of the most important music executives who ever lived. I assumed that meant that Kennedy was just some spoiled, pampered, rich boy son of privilege. I mean, I found a picture of him. Enough said, right? But because the lurid, crazy history of the early days of Motown had been well documented, I found out that that's not necessarily the case. Okay, for one, Kennedy's mom was not Berry Gordy's wife, but one of the many chicks Berry Gordy was seeing on the side. That, of course, caused an ugly divorce. Kennedy seems to have been on decent terms with his father growing up, but when his mom started having trouble with drugs, he started living with Gordy's ex-wife. Yeah, the same one Berry was cheating on when he had Kennedy. Also, of course, he was hanging out with all sorts of showbiz types, surrounded by their fans and paparazzi, which I'm sure must have been stressful for a young kid. When he recorded his first songs, he wasn't even on speaking terms with his dad, and his record deal with Motown happened entirely behind his dad's back, and he changed his name to Rockwell because he didn't want anyone to know their connection. Also, one-name singers were big at the time, you know. All that is not to say that he doesn't owe his career to his family name, because even if his dad didn't know, the other execs surely did. But also, Motown was at a really low point in the mid-'80s. Like, it's a serious downgrade to go from Marvin Gaye and the Temptations and the Supremes and Smokey Robinson to El DeBarge, Tina Marie, and Bruce Willis. Seriously? So I assume whoever signed him figured, you know, why the hell not like we got anything else going on. Also, were he not a Gordy, he wouldn't have met the man who made his hit, namely, this guy. See, the Gordys and the Jacksons were always real close. As a kid, Kennedy was always hanging out with the Jackson 5, Rockwell's sister was married to a Jackson, MJ himself was long gone from Motown at this point. But Rockwell played his demo for it, and when the King of Pop heard it, he found himself irresistibly attracted to this song about a terrified, privacy-obsessed paranoiac losing his mind. God only knows why. Michael demanded a chance to sing on the actual recording. When Rockwell's dad heard it, he immediately declared it a hit and rushed it into the marketplace. I'm not going to say a lot of nice things about Rockwell, so let me say this right now, clearly and for the record. Somebody's Watching Me is just an awesome song. Most everything Motown put out in the 80s is kind of lame, but Somebody's Watching Me, the production is fantastic, the concept is great, and like I said, for a couple of years there, you could write all sorts of silly songs about Halloween-y type things, and also synthesizers most of the time sound cold and creepy, so no wonder this was a glory time for horror pop. You can blame Thriller for that probably, but honestly, I've never really liked Thriller that much. Kind of a little just too cheesy for me, whereas Somebody's Watching Me taps into something kind of real and crazy and falling apart. And knowing how the Michael Jackson story unfolded only adds another dimension to it. And I just like the concept of the song. Like, I love the Next Silly Love Song as much as anyone, but how many times have we had a song about a guy who's being tormented by unknown monsters haunting his house? And of course, Michael Jackson was a huge get. That practically guaranteed the success of the song. I think at one point that year, the sound of Michael Jackson's hair catching fire was the #1 song in the country. And in his own way, Rockwell was ahead of his time. Nowadays, featuring credits are ubiquitous. Rappers hired big-name stars all the time to sing their hooks, but in 1984, never. Of course, calling Rockwell a rapper is pushing it. He is the weak link on this song by a large margin. His rap skills are roughly on the same level as Rodney Dangerfield in Rappin' Rodney, but his jokes are a lot cornier.
I wonder who's watching me now? The IRS?
Well, pay your damn taxes, rich boy, and you can stop worrying about it.
When I come home at night.
And even just on a pure vocal level, he's pretty bad, and he's not exactly called on to do much here. Now for comparison, check out Morris Day's cover a couple decades later.
People calling me on the phone that I'm trying to avoid. Is it the people on the TV see me, or am I just paranoid?
That's a guy with some delivery. Not that Rockwell doesn't try.
Are the neighbors watching me? Well, it's the mailman watching me.
Mostly he compensates for his utter lack of vocal talent by going over the top ham. He's practically chewing on the cheap Halloween store scenery. No, that's mean. The video is actually quite appropriately poltergeisty. But ignoring the cool video where there are ghosts and ghouls and zombies and pig dogs everywhere, as far as I can tell, this is not a song about being haunted or stalked or in danger. It's just a guy who's weird. He's scared to answer the phone, he's scared to watch TV, he's scared to shower.
When I'm in the shower, I'm afraid to wash my hair.
Which he really should and get all that gunk out of his hair. But he can't, because performing the basic functions of life is just too much for him to handle. He's going full-on Howard Hughes, and he probably needs to be medicated. This is less Psycho and more Repulsion. Spider? Pie? Just one of those movies where the protagonist is going crazy. Black Swan?
I don't know anymore.
Honestly, that's what I like about it the most, that it's so crazy. That and the killer organ solo. Okay, Michael Jackson is like 80% of why I like this, but Rockwell had definitely established himself as a unique standout with his hit song, which reached all the way to #2. Where did he go from here? You know those artists like David Bowie and Madonna who evolve and reinvent themselves with every successive album? We don't cover those on this show. Anyway, the video for his failed follow-up has him coming straight from a Rockwell concert, being mobbed by screaming Rockwell fans. When this happens.
Hello? Who is this?
Yes, Rockwell has taken his original song's theme of unknown lurking terrors and found a new, substantially ickier take on them. An obscene phone caller, which was this horrible phenomenon that existed before caller ID. And Obscene Phone Caller is a fitting title because this song is obscenely terrible.
I don't know what's going through your mind, but these naughty phone calls are a waste of time.
I do feel like Somebody's Watching Me taps into creeping dread in a fun way. There's nothing fun about perverts making creepy mouth-breathing phone calls. Also, Is this something that happened to a lot of men? Yeah, the video's trying to make it look as sexy as possible, but by the song's own admission, he doesn't even know whether the creeper on the other line is a girl or a guy.
Just let me know if you're a girl or something. Maybe I'll talk to you, but...
Hot? This obviously didn't chart. Nor did his next single, which is titled Knife. You'd think that's continuing the stalker horror theme, but it's actually a soft, slow R&B ballad, and it is here where he demonstrates the full extent of his talent. Oof.
You cut away the heart of my life.
You cut out the heart of my life. This sounds like some badly translated Asian karaoke song. No. Well, yes, but not really. First off, this wasn't a single, but I really wanted to share his cover of the Beatles' Taxman.
I'm the Taxman. Yeah, I'm the Taxman.
God, this guy really had it in for the IRS, huh? Maybe he's worried they'll repossess the single Casio keyboard they had to record this with. After that, he did release 2 more albums over the next 2 years. Captured. Nice jacket. And the G... Oh my god, that's even better. He released several singles, but none of them charted, and if they had videos, I couldn't find them. Except for this one off his second album, Peeping Tom. God, he really has a problem with stalkers. Women just want him and don't respect his boundaries. King of Pain! Okay, this is just stupid. Now, Michael put out lots of songs where he was a victim of female sexual predators, but he also did seem kinda legitimately terrified of sex. In the case of Peeping Tom, meanwhile, Rockwell actually seems to be delighted and interested in this oogling psycho sneaking through his yard. Also, you know, when Michael Jackson put out song after song pleading for privacy, at least you understood where he was coming from. Rockwell, were people ever really that interested in you? Were you really so hounded by attention that you wrote song after song about it? Actually, maybe he was. At first I assumed that he kept writing songs like that just to try and recapture the magic of the first hit, but I think he might really have been that paranoid because, as far as I can tell, Rockwell has completely disappeared. I tried to find out what happened to him after he stopped singing, and I can find almost nothing. I know he's still alive because TMZ reported he got a divorce 3 months ago. I found one unverified source that said he was working in the music industry in some unspecified capacity. In Berry Gordy's autobiography, he says he sees a lot of his own entrepreneurial spirit in his son Rockwell, but what's he doing? I have no idea. No interviews, no where are they nows, no public appearances. Apparently he's trying to make sure once and for all that no one is watching him. Or maybe they got him. Ahem. No. I can't emphasize how little business Rockwell had being a recording artist. He couldn't rap, he couldn't sing, he wasn't a particularly good songwriter or engaging performer, and if his dad had been Robert Q. Schmuck, he would not have had the opportunities he did. That said, Somebody's Watching Me was a bolt of inspiration that came together perfectly, one that lives on at Halloween dance parties to this day. But let's be clear, that was a fluke. Somebody may have been watching him, but I can't imagine why.